Hi, and welcome to the Switch Show. I'm Malise Chinoye, and welcome back to yet another episode. So, as you can already tell by the title, we are going to be talking about trends today. Trend Z, Gen Z, Trend Z. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so yeah, before we get into the conversation, make sure to share this with your friends. You can just pause and share. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can follow us here on Spotify. Follow us across all of our socials on Instagram at thesuit.show. You can also follow my personal Instagram page if that interests you at Smiley Sechinoye. And yeah, then after you've listened, make sure to leave a 5-star review. Okay? Yeah, I'll still say it at the end. But yeah, trends. We're going to be talking about trends, and trends it's particularly it's particularly interesting because we're in an era where trends are more prevalent than ever before. That's not to say that trends haven't been around for a while. Trendy things haven't been around, but with the advent and with the development of technology, with technological improvements day after day, with the advent of social media, trends become more potent. I don't know if that makes sense. Trends become more potent, and trends have a widespread effect. That is why there is a virality of anything that comes from it. That's how you have something being viral and everything. So yeah, as typical with the Switch Show, before we dive into everything, we need to kind of lay groundwork, get our definitions out the way. So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary or Google, a trend is actually, there's a noun and a verb. So the noun form of trend means a general direction in which something is developing or changing, and it's the example in the way it can be used is when you are analyzing economic charts. Where you're analyzing economic charts, you say it is either trending upward or it is trending downward. For example, take stock of the economy of the world at large. Now there are multiple factors affecting foreign exchange. There are internal crises, there are external crises. So when you look at it and you see how the oil is trading at X dollars per barrel, you can determine that, the prices are trending upwards, which is a sign of inflation, or the prices are trending downwards. And trend there is more like a gerund. A gerund is like using a verbal type of, it's like using it as a verb. It's like using a verb form of this thing added with an ing, but then it is used as a noun. Just a little English crash course. I hope I got that right. But then trend verb, okay, that's what I just explained. Change or develop in a general direction. And the particular one I'm driving at today is to be the subject of many posts on a social media site or application within a short period of time. Notice it says short period of time. Okay, so yeah, generally we are drawn to, as humans, we are drawn to something that everybody is drawn to. It doesn't make any sense, it's very vague, but I would clarify. What that means is that there is human tendency to want to roll with the flow, to want to do what other people are doing. It might not seem nice. Many times it might be nice, it might look good, but it actually isn't. Okay, and okay, full disclaimer here, this is from a Christian perspective. I'm a Christian boy, Christian young man, whatever you decide to phrase it as, but yeah, I'm a Christian, so every other take no. Okay, so there's a tendency to want to go in a direction that seems beautiful. And the Bible says, there's a way that seems right unto a man, and the end therein is destruction. I sometimes the Bible uses some words that can come off as very hard, but the reason why some of these words need to be this harsh is so that you can understand that there is a scale, there's a magnitude of effects that can come from a singular action. So while I was thinking about that particular scripture I just quoted, I think it's in Proverbs, there's a way that seems right unto a man, and the end therein is destruction. When I was thinking about it, many times when we think about it, we think that the destruction is immediate. Okay, we think that it is, and this is still keeping up with trends. Now, mind you, not all trends are bad, because a lot of people now be listening to it and be like, are you trying to say that? No, but majority of what we see that is trendy doesn't make sense. Okay, and this is due to the popularity of TikTok and the rest of it. So back to what I was saying, when we think about destruction, we think about immediate boom, pow, explosion, destruction now and then. But that is not always the case. That isn't always the scenario. God bless the person that said, a tiny drop of water makes a mighty ocean, or how they say it. That gives you a picture, that gives you a clearer image to understand that the destruction that is mentioned there, or the demise that is mentioned there, is not a one-day thing. I've referenced in previous episode Atomic Habits. Things build up. I was watching a TikTok video. I mentioned TikTok now. TikTok is not all that bad, but there are crazy things on TikTok. I was watching a TikTok video where someone was trying to explain Einstein's theory of relativity, and saying that the theory of relativity has to do with all things big, then quantum physics has to do with all things small. And when you look into an atom, there's a theory that's been postulated that when you look into an atom, there is a string, and those strings are moving, with vibration. There are vibrations and frequencies in those strings, and those strings build up the nucleus of an atom. Then you have the protons, and you have the electron that makes up the atom, and the atom makes up the molecule, and the molecules make up a compound, and the compound makes up the organ and the organism and whatnot. So in essence, what that means is that it goes down to the littlest reaction. So the littlest reaction can have a large scale influence or large scale effect. So yeah, a trend is an idea, activity, philosophy, or action that is constantly changing over time. So many times I'm one that is never obsessed with trends. The reason why I liked talking about this topic is because it gives me an opportunity to talk about how I view trends. I never like trends. I still don't, because it never made sense in my head. It still doesn't. Probably it would, I mean, the trends that are out there, not trends that are for the Christian community, because I don't think there should be something that is trendy in quotes per se to the Christian community. Because when we work based on trends are just little dopamine shots, little dopamine shots. I think when I'm fully read, or when I'm losing the words, but when I fully understand some elements of ADHD mental health, I would probably talk about it, because I see stuff and I read stuff and I show signs of someone that has ADHD, and probably everybody has ADHD now, because I don't know, I really do not know. But yeah, one of the symptoms of it is that when you find something, you sap that thing out of the dopamine that it gives to you, and when it no longer gives you that excitement and everything, you just bolt out, you switch courses, but it can be managed anyway. But What I'm trying to say is that I feel like that is the way we've induced our brains to receive things. We want to give our brain quick pleasures, quick satisfaction. I've talked about delayed gratification in a previous episode. You should go check it out if you want to. But we want to satisfy our brains immediately. While there is a place for pleasure, there's a place for fun. That's not to say you cannot have fun, you can't play, you can't, be laid back once in a while or rest. That's not to say, consume some content here and there. But the problem with that is that we are so consumed with wanting to get it now, that when the time comes for us to actually settle and reap the benefits of something that we should have been building for a long time, we no longer see the views, we no longer see reasons for us to build something over time. So in the end, what we have done by hopping on from one trend to the other, what we have done is that we've reduced our brain's ability to withhold rewards. We are constantly seeking rewards. Okay, so questions would be like, what makes a trend a trend? Because people accept it. I don't think they're probably social. That question, I didn't do any research on that on that particular question. What makes a trend a trend? You tell me. What makes something trendy? Probably because of relatability. Many times, I say this, I'm not saying this to say that there are things that don't make sense, but majority of the things we see on TikTok, they don't make any common logical sense, but they probably just humorous. Yeah, and that's what really makes things trend. Majority of the time is just humor, and human beings just want to have a good laugh. The world is already so that again. Not all trends are bad, okay? Because you guys will be looking like, Gen Z. Why are you sounding like you don't like the internet? Well, sometimes I don't. I feel like many times I feel like I'm a boomer in a Gen Z's body, not even a millennial. I feel like I'm a boomer in a Gen Z's body. But anyhow, the thing about it is that once they find something that gives them peace, or makes them move, or they just find, external satisfaction. They find something that just makes them feel good. The body likes to feel good, the brain likes to feel good, the brain likes rewards. So things that trend are more like rewards for your brain. And so once the brain picks it, humans are almost alike. Physically we are alike, but then the differentiator is more spiritual than physical. Okay, so physically we all react almost similarly, if not. Okay, so causes of trends, technological innovations, institutional changes, demographic changes, ideational changes. Technological innovations, I've talked about it, the advent of social media. I believe we even complain that social media is this, social media is that. There are places in the world that haven't had access to social media as much as we do, and when these places get access, we would see more reasons to want to explore the culture, and we'll see more reasons to want to build new media, just so that we can take up that market. Demographic changes. When you talk about demographic changes, how I say I'm a boomer in a Gen Z's body, I can relate to boomer content. I can laugh at that, I can make dad jokes, very even sillier dad jokes than dads will make, but I can also relate to Gen Z content. And now Gen Z is growing up, and then there is the alpha generation. The alpha generation would come, and there'll be a new trend, there'll be a new form of media consumption, there'll be something that will be in the now. And human beings are always want to be in the now, in the now, in the now. Let's know what's going on. Let me feel relevant. That's the word I've been looking for. Relevance is one of the reasons. I think that's what makes a trend relevant. So if it is relevant, if I was to do something that is pertaining to, if I was to go on a rant on TikTok, that's probably pertaining to something that is going on anywhere in the world. If I totally botch, if I botch the whole concept, the whole idea, people are going to hop on that video and blast me and come against me and troll me and everything. But that video is going to go viral because it is something that is relevant, something that is present. Do you get? So this is not a cue for you to do something outrageous or something crazy, but it's just for you to understand that many times there's people looking for relevance. Okay, so yeah, institutional changes, ideational changes, ideas change, people's view on life. You said a trend is an idea, philosophy, activity, that changes over time. So yeah, why do we follow trends? And this is where I'm going to just dip my toes in the water here, and hopefully another time I'm going to really delve into this. And this is something that is called the bandwagon effect. So I'll define the bandwagon effect, then I would try to relate it so that you'll be like, oh yeah, you'd have that eureka moment. I'll be like, oh okay, that makes sense. So all that fancy word, all those fancy words was just this. Okay, so the bandwagon effect is a cognitive bias that causes people to think or act a certain way if they believe that others are doing the same. It's very simple, but TLDR, bandwagon effect is everybody is doing a legwork challenge. Everybody's doing legwork challenge on TikTok, and then you start filming your own tutorial. Yeah. Did that do it for you? If that didn't do it for you, remember the rave? There was a rave one time in Nigeria where boys were obsessed with skinny jeans. I never liked skinny jeans. Thank God. So I said I never liked trends. Nothing trendy ever made sense to me. But yeah, there was a time where boys were obsessed with skinny jeans. Probably it was a rave around the world, but I'm speaking because I primarily grew up in Nigeria. I still live in Nigeria anyway. Boys were obsessed with skinny jeans, and the funny thing about it was that a lot of people were uncomfortable. It made a lot of guys chafe. I don't know if you know what chafing is. It's friction that it's caused many times in between your thighs, due to heat and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure I'm botching the explanation or the definition, but I think you understand. Where in between your thighs you're experiencing some blisters and everything, and it's itchy, it's hot, it's very uncomfortable. It causes severe discomfort. So guys were chafing, but because everyone was wearing skinny jeans, they wanted to wear skinny jeans. See, they were acting similarly to other people because they feel like everybody was doing the same thing. That's just it. Okay, that's it. And then there's one other thing. Let me look for another example. There are myriads of examples. I can't think of one now. You guys can think of one as you listen. You can just pause and be like, do you remember the time where we took off all our extensions and we just went for straight up natural cornrows, natural all back, and everybody was plating all back because all the big girls were doing it. And exactly like how celebrities influence people. Look at people like the Kardashians, way in America. Their influence spans across the world. I remember the time I was, when they were like the rave, when they were like the it people, the IT, not EAT, the it people, the it girls, they went on this whole body modification, and girls were putting themselves under the knife just to look like the Kardashians. And then they come out and they're like, nah, slim girl is in, slim girl is in. We don't want to look all big and voluptuous. We still want to look voluptuous and everything, but we want to be trim. And everybody was like, not really everybody, but certain amount of people were like, okay, if they say this is the standard, then we're going to follow the standard. And then there was a time where she went on cornrows with her hair, and people started calling it the Kardashian style or something. And I was like, bro, what is wrong with these people? This is cornrows is older. Cornrows have been in place for a long time. They are older than these people. This hairstyle is as old as our forefathers. Come on, man. Come on. Even in the days of Jesus, people had cornrows. So how would you be calling it? If you are even meant to call it anything, I'm meant to call it Jesus cornrows. Because he rose again. See what I did there. But anyway, so that basically is the bandwagon effect. Okay, so I'm just trying to touch it. Like I said, dip my toes in the water, not anything much. But in subsequent episodes, I'm going to expand on it. Hopefully I can have a guest that we're going to talk about it more. Now there are a lot of episodes where I've said subsequent episodes, so it's piling up. And trust me, we're going to have guests soon. I'm just filtering through the lists. I'm communicating with them. And yeah, the Sweet Show is going to the family is going to expand. So yeah, I think that's basically it for today's conversation. I hope I didn't leave any cliffhangers. Excuse me. I hope I didn't leave any cliffhangers. I'm pretty sure I've touched the subject matters I wanted to touch. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to do my very best to make sure that I don't just leave these ones and just run through other episodes. And yeah, I would see you guys in the next episode. Flip that switch and illuminate. Stay true to yourself. God bless you. I love you guys so much. Arrivederci. Ciao.